Welcome back. All right, so I binge watched the most recent season of Bachelor in Paradise. Now I've talked about the Canadian one. I enjoy the Canadian one. I think it's good. I think the way that it's set up, I can buy that some of these people actually, they might have a successful relationship after it's done. It's treated. I don't know if seriously is the way to put it because dating shows are dating shows, but I don't know. It just feels like there's more real connection there. And I understand that these are all edited very crazily, and that really, in all honesty, when you talk about reality TV, you have to use the air quotes, right? So I wanted to talk about this because there's some stuff that went on during this 10 episode season, which just, there's some people I wanted to talk about, so I made sure they're on the board. And there were some phrases that I learned were like triggers. So like it looks like they're bored most of the time. I got to be honest, if you watch this, to me it looks like they're bored 95% of the time. They're just all sitting around in a pile like our rabbits do upstairs, just all sitting around, sitting in the sun preferably, just kind of looking up at the sky and just like waiting for something to happen. That's definitely the way it did not look. And again, the Canadian one, they were all separated. The weird thing is, in the Canadian one, you're you're in Ontario with the bugs, and it at least in this one, it looks like Paradise should look. The Canadian one, not so much. As I've mentioned before, if I was going to set up a Paradise in Canada, I'm not sure if I would pick the part. I think it's Northern Ontario they use. I don't know if I'd go with Northern Ontario. Um, like Banff's right there. But anyways, that being said, we'll discuss the Bachelor in Paradise, the American version, which of course is the original version, and its ridiculousness. So I'll start out talking about Braden. Braden in the beginning, they made it seem like he's really volatile, really temperamental based on previous seasons. He was very chill. He really was. He was very chill. Um, I'm very happy to see, and I've looked up some of these people for what they're doing since the show ended. And Braden just got engaged at a wedding that was a bachelor wedding, so like related to the show, and he got married to, or he's getting married to somebody else who was, I think, a contestant on a previous season. They all kind of intermingle. This is something that's one of these weird things where it's created its own cottage industry, where you have all these people that are all just, they're paid to date on dating shows. So why actually pair up and get married when you could just keep going on more dating shows and try to win money or try to become more and more famous, right? That seems to be the route they're taking. So, anyways, all right, let's return to talking about other cast members too. Kat, crazy, crazy. The one person on this show I kind of felt, I actually ended up feeling bad for Kat because just the way she was talking and reacting, and just how quickly she was falling in love. And this is the one for me. I understand the editing, I totally get it, but if that was accurate editing, and she really goes from I love you to I hate you that quickly, and vice versa. Very often I'll look at somebody like that and think maybe not ready for a relationship at this point. Maybe there's something she needs to work on herself first before she's going to be mentally ready to be in a committed relationship with one person. So that was the first thing I thought with her and Olivia. Olivia started out looking crazy on the show, but ended up being the most entertaining person on the show. She kind of became the narrator. Early on, it was Sean. Sean's not on the board. Sean kind of hosed himself out of this. He had a good thing going, I thought, with Rachel, and then he decided, oh, I'll take a shot at Jess, and then that blew the whole thing up, which led to Braden going after Rachel, and then Braden deciding to go after somebody else instead of Rachel, which is just weird. But Olivia, by the end, she had become like my favorite on the show. Fantastic. It didn't work out with her, and I'll talk about that at the end of this too. But yeah, Rachel might have been my favorite on the show. I thought she seemed the most normal, the most down to earth. Even though her hair's not real, apparently her teeth aren't real, apparently other body parts aren't real either. But at the very least, to me, she seemed the most down to earth and rational amongst everybody. Then there was the Kylie Avon stuff. Now I've got the hyphen between the two for a simple reason. Towards the end of the show, there's kind of like this, okay, are you going to get engaged? Okay, seriously, they've spent a few weeks together on the beach. Don't get engaged to somebody you spent a few weeks on the beach with, because that's crazy. But Kylie was like, well, I want to get engaged. And Avon's like, I'm willing to have a relationship with you outside of the show. I'm willing to, try it, but there's a distance between where you live and where I live, and I just think we should try on the outside first before we get engaged. And her answer was, I want to get engaged. So if you actually cared about me, you'd get engaged to me right now. That seemed to be the attitude. And it's bonkers. It's bonkers. And all I could think was, so Avon's normal. Avon's a normal person that goes, hey, this girl, she's beautiful. She seems great. I really like her. I want to spend time with her after the show's done. I am not getting engaged just for the sake of getting engaged at the end of the show. And so he didn't. And I respected him for that. I thought, good for you. Don't just, cave to, you don't want somebody to go, dude, you came out of that show engaged. Well, yeah, she really wanted me to. So I figured I might as well. What? And the funny thing is when I hear, "Hey, you're almost 30. Come on now, you got to settle down." Yeah, I met my wife in my 40s. So, it can still happen. I know the biological clock argument is there. I know it's used a lot with women, but honestly, wait for the person that makes you happy, not just the person that's there. So the fact that Kylie and Avon didn't make it and Avon stood his ground, I was so happy for him because the way that it was being edited made it seem like he was being kind of a jerk for holding back with her, and he was kind of for not getting engaged, kind of rude. It's such a weird way to think. Like there are couples that have been together a long time before they get engaged, and are together a long time after that before they get married, and that can be the strongest relationship too, right? Now, again, Yvonne and I got married roughly a year after we started dating, but that was a situation that I don't know if that would work for most people. In fact, I'll say it probably wouldn't work for a lot of people. Yvonne and I just knew. We just knew. And I think Kylie was looking for that from Avon. But again, Yvonne and I were going through our daily thing and the normal life stuff and not all wonderful, great beach time like these guys are getting. They haven't even spent a minute together outside of the villa or the beach area there. So I totally understand why somebody would say, I don't think I'm getting engaged. Also, the show really did a bait and switch. So early on, they're like, and a couple's getting married on this beach before the season's done. You're not going to believe it. And then it's not even people from this season, it's people who were engaged before, and then they get married on the show. And all I could think to myself was, they're probably already married before this because they didn't have like family and friends there. It was just a bunch of other contestants watching them get married. Yeah. I mean, it feels to me like a renewing your vows type situation. Because do you really get married on a beach and then tell your family and friends, "Yeah, we got married on the show because why not? It's a shame you couldn't be there, mom and dad, but show money." And I know the show would have paid them to be there and get married, but still, while it's paradise, I mean, still. Anyways, that's a whole aside there. But I thought it was kind of screwy for the show to do that. Somebody's getting married. Stay tuned. Somebody's getting married, and then it's not even anybody that's part of this year's show. Well, I have to say, um, Will it goes on a date with Kylie, and he's trying to impress her, and they're on this weird kind of boardwalk thing, and so he pulls her chair out so she can sit down, and as he's going to step around her, it's dark. It's dark. I don't blame Will, but there's water right next to the wooden platform, and he just goes and takes a step, and he's right in the water. And so for the rest of their date, he's soaked. And like I I think that's one of the funniest things I've ever seen because like after that every time Kylie was kind of like, I waited for Will to say, "It's cuz I fell in the water, isn't it?" Damn it. It's cuz I fell in, I'm sorry I fell in the water. It's just I couldn't see. It's cuz I fell in the water. And every time that a woman turned him down after that, I wanted him to say, "This is cuz I fell in the water. Did Kylie tell you I fell in the water? Cuz that was an accident." It he just had this look on his face like, I fell in the water. It was great. It was great. It was one of the most real moments I've ever seen on a reality show because I was thinking I'd fall in the water. That situation, yep, I'd be the gentleman. I wouldn't see the water. I'd fall in the water. I'd be drenched the rest of the date. If there was a rest of the date, I'd probably be like, production, can we do this some other time? Because I just fell in the water. So this date's probably just done. Can I get the next date card? Kylie's not going to want anything to do with me because I fell in the water. But anyways, all right, as an aside. Tyler, I got a kick out of Tyler because Tyler was there to have fun and he partnered up and he was having fun. But this is where the whole question comes in of are they here for the right reasons? So the other cast members, some of them were talking behind his back about how he was there to have fun. He might not be there to get married. So, like, seriously, you're not here to get married. You're just here to find a woman and hang out and have fun. Yeah, screw that guy. I don't understand that sentiment at all. Because every dating show, do not play a game of taking a shot every time somebody says, well, they're not here for the right reasons, or well, I'm here for the right reasons. Yeah, you're there to get famous and make some money and potentially hook up with somebody. Those are the reasons. There doesn't seem to be any wrong reasons really, just different reasons. But yeah, Tyler, eventually he leaves because he doesn't have a huge connection with anybody, as a lot of people did. Towards the end of the season, it's sad. And the funny thing is, the Canadian one, I don't remember being that sad at the end, where you're like, man, this is just chaos. So every couple pairs off in that final episode, and it's just, nope. All right, the car's waiting for you out there. Are we gonna? Nope. All right, cars wait. Like they don't let them pack. They don't let them say goodbye. There's nothing. They walk off the beach, and the other cast members have to stay put. Clearly, are not allowed to go and say goodbye to them because they would have. So it's weird. It's really really weird where you're watching couple after couple after couple. There were two Sams on this season. What I thought was funny was you had the Sam who couldn't go number two. They tell us way too much detail. Oh my gosh. I don't need to know. And having an entire episode framed around this, I was like, we're going to make a whole episode about the fact she can't go to the bathroom. Okay. And then, spoiler alert, but eventually she has to leave. And then immediately they send a new girl in because you have to keep the numbers balanced. And it's Sam. But it was the Canadian Sam. So they went from the first Sam, who was kind of boring. Like, they didn't give her a lot of screen time until she couldn't go to the bathroom because I feel like that was just one of the more boring couples, so there wasn't really much footage they felt was going to get the viewer talking. But the Canadian Sam, who on the Canadian version of the show, I wasn't a huge fan of hers. On the American one, she was great. She just told the truth the whole time. She would say things out loud about how ridiculous the whole thing was that maybe the others were thinking or not. But Sam was fantastic. And I thought through the whole season that Sam was my favorite, which is weird because um, on the Canadian one, she was not. Maybe she learned from the Canadian one because she seemed totally different on the American show. Maybe the fact she didn't know who anybody was at all, perfect. Nobody knew who she was either. So I thought that was really, really good. But yeah, I got a kick out of one and the other one. So we're only going to talk about the fact she can't go number two. It's a weird thing to have a dating show be about. And everybody talks about it. And I'm thinking to myself, for the rest of her life, that's what she's going to be known for. Oh, I know you. You're the one that couldn't go to the bathroom. How are you now, by the way? And then they even provide, after she's left the show, they even provide an update on when she went to the washroom. And I'm like, we don't stop it. Time out. Stop it. Right now. You're drunk. Go home. Aaron S, who was paired up with Sam, and as soon as Sam went home, he's like, all right, I might as well just set this whole thing on fire. He breaks the secret box. I don't understand the secret box, the whole telling the truth box thing, where they all, ooh, here's our truth, and sometimes the truths were lame, but he's like, I want to get to the bottom of this, and he breaks the box, and then they of course fix the box later on and all that. But Aaron was really kind of an odd one, bit of an odd one there, temperamental. Um, as evidenced once Sam left, he's like, well, I don't have a connection with anybody here. Let's go ahead and pick some fights and get people. Oh, okay. Which I think probably gets you invited back. That's where casting goes. We've got to have him back next year because he's gold. Jess, I felt, and I've got Jess and Blake on the board here. So Jess and Blake were together almost the entire time. And then when Blake has his moment is because of what I'm talking about over here. I'm happy right now. So Jess and Blake, things were going pretty well. And then all of a sudden, Blake's ex is trucked into the place. Blake's ex was not joining the cast. She was just there to give Blake that doubt and break him up with Jess. That's the only thing that happened after that. It just left Blake, thinking, I don't feel the same way about you that I did about my ex. Not all relationships are the same, but anyways, this is kind of a thing where I noticed that anytime a couple was happy, production's going to send somebody in to ruin it. And if somebody says, "I want to see insert name of person who could potentially be on the cast," they're there. So I'm sure that there were moments they talked about people who didn't show up and that got cut out of the show. But the way they edited it was, I wanted to see John Henry come in, and then John Henry comes in. Like it just felt way more scripted than the Canadian one. It felt way more manipulated than the Canadian one did. And so that was one of the things that kept taking me out of the moment, for lack of a better way of putting it. Where I'm like, seriously. So I'd hear, oh well, as long as they don't send that person in, you should be fine. Like for instance, so we have Will leaves Olivia to go with Kylie, and Olivia told Will, Kylie's only with you to get a rose, and then Avon's going to come in and she's going to go with Avon. Within minutes, and again, I know it's edited, but within minutes, Avon's on the show, Kylie goes with Avon on a date, Will's on his own, and Olivia thinks it's really funny. So it's immediate. It just felt like, okay, so again, it feels like, even by reality show standards, this one's very structured and scripted. But the weird thing is, none of the couples are still together. None of them. Before the show was done, I was thinking none of these couples have a solid foundation. None of them are going to last. And none of them have. Not one. I was surprised enough that Kat and John Henry ended up together. I was like, he chose Kat over Olivia? There must be something we're not seeing. And I know there's a lot we don't see. But I knew that wasn't going to last. He does like deep sea diving, and she doesn't like water, and she doesn't like aquatic creatures. How does that possibly? It's just, I don't understand. I'm a pilot. Well, I hate flying. Let's date. I don't. Oh, I'm a hockey player. I hate hockey. Well, we should go out. I don't understand how this works. Sometimes we're like that, and I understand that it's just, well, I think you're hot. I think you're hot. I get that. I totally get it. But then you have to talk. Then, when all of the hotness is past, you have to sit down and have actual conversations like adults. And if you have nothing in common, it's done. So, entertaining show. I would highly recommend it. But again, I hadn't watched Bachelor in Paradise all the way through before. I'd watched like an episode here and there, and I was like, this is just ridiculous. And it was ridiculous this year too. Although we didn't have the real blow ups and fights, it felt like we were going to have fights and then we didn't. But yeah, entertaining show. I've stood here, I've talked about it for 18 minutes. This is the kind of thing I watch when hockey's done for the night. I'll go and check that out. And yeah, I got a kick out of just how obviously scripted this was. and and again, they all have some version of script writing involved with, just, we're going to put these pieces in this place and see how they interact. But in this one, it was really blatant. It was really obvious. So every time there was a happy couple, they would make sure that happy couple was almost broken up. And I would hear, oh, and then they'd say, oh, it's a good test. But why? So, and if this is one of those, well, they want to see if it's going to work in the real world, then don't have it just in Fiji. Have it in Fiji and then do a test run. Like Love is Blind does. Although Love is Blind's got all kinds of problems. Love is Blind is a show that is. I really don't know how Love is Blind is going to survive. And not only that, but Love is Blind, there are people suing to get out of their non disclosure agreements. They're saying those non disclosure agreements are not enforceable. In the event that the non disclosure agreements actually fall apart, and if a court says, you know what, you can't enforce this, and all of the reality stars start talking about behind the scenes stuff, and production people start talking about the behind the scenes stuff, reality TV will crash down as we know it. It'll have to completely change, is my guess. But that's just me. So I consume it knowing darn well that there's issues with how it's put together. Love is Blind especially. I've seen so many horror stories. Not as many around Bachelor in Paradise or Bachelor, but man, the psychological side of this is fascinating. Just fascinating. But let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for spending your time listening to me talking about another dating reality show. for 20 minutes. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And hey, I will talk to you again soon.